Now, let's go back and imagine a simpler time. You know, enjoying Saturday morning cartoons, hanging out with your friends at the local arcade, and of course, who could forget the endless hours spent in front of the TV with their favourite console? Because when that gaming system of choice powered up, the room would fill with a cascade of chimes and looping songs. And before you knew it, you were immersed in the digital world, all because of a simple melody.
But for us to fully understand how 8-bit and 16 music transcended past the technical limitations, we need to go all the way back to the beginning.
In the earliest days of gaming, sound was purely functional, where the sparse tones were little more than auditory markers. Yet even then there was a hint of potential, and this turning point came with the arcades. When Space Invaders arrived, it introduced dynamic sound, which would speed up as the aliens descended. It was anxiety in an audio form, but soon after, Pac-Man would roll in with one of the most recognisable jingles in gaming history.
Paired with playful sounds, this was no longer a game but an arcade experience.
Then came the Nintendo Entertainment System, which wasn't just a step forward in gameplay, it was an auditory revolution. Let's take Super Mario Bros. For example. Koji Kondo's overworld theme wasn't just a catchy tune, it was perfectly synchronised with Mario's movements, creating an almost rhythmic partnership. And then there was The Legend of Zelda with its overworld theme. It was bold, it was adventurous, and it perfectly captured the spirit of exploration. Kondo's ability to invoke emotions with a handful of tunes was unparalleled, and it set the gold standard for video game music.
Now, the NES sound chip was powerful for the time, but it did have its limitations. 5 sound channels only, limited waveforms, and no real capabilities of using instruments. But this didn't stop composers from being creative.
Let's consider Mega Man 2. Its soundtrack is pure adrenaline, blending high energy rhythms with dramatic melodies. And despite the technological limitations of the NES, the music that it created felt larger than life. Similarly, this same can be said about Castlevania's Vampire Killer, which turned a gothic horror atmosphere into something thrilling and unforgettable. However, as the world of gaming began to transition into the 16-bit era, the leap in sound quality was as dramatic as the jump in graphics. Now, the Super Nintendo was a technological marvel for its time. Its 8-channel sound chip could sample real instruments, allowing composers to create soundtracks, such as The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Its Dark World theme was haunting and was filled with mystery and danger.
The soundtrack wasn't just memorable, it was integral to the game's story, which in itself is absolutely epic.
And of course, more importantly, you cannot forget Super Metroid, which used music sparingly. With its ambient tones, the eerie echoes, and those long stretches of silence, it made that isolation feel real. Now, while Nintendo leaned into orchestral arrangements, Sega took a different path. The Sega Mega Drive sound chip produced a grittier, bass-heavy sound that perfectly suited its cool image, with Sonic the Hedgehog being the poster child for this approach. In fact, the iconic Green Hill Zone theme was fast, energetic, and full of attitude, just like Sonic himself. Meanwhile, games like Street Fighter 2, which is legendary not just for the gameplay but for its music, each character had their own theme, and you knew exactly who they were before they ever stepped into the ring. And last but not least, let's not forget about Streets of Rage, which used funky techno-inspired tracks to amplify the gritty urban atmosphere.
I mean, who doesn't love listening to Fighting in the Streets or even Dreamer when you're out for a walk or getting your sweat on in the gym?
Anyway, in the 16-bit era, music didn't just accompany gameplay, it in fact helped to shape it even more. Games such as Donkey Kong Country used atmospheric tracks like aquatic ambience to make its levels feel alive. Star Fox would use dynamic music to heighten the tension during dogfights, and Earthbound would mix quirky melodies with unsettling undertones. However, the legendary Chrono Trigger used its music to reinforce the narrative's theme.
As many of you are aware, I absolutely love Chrono Trigger. It's a firm favourite of mine, alongside Zelda and a particular blue hedgehog that I have a slight obsession with.
Obsessed much?
Now, let me ask you this. When was the last time you actually listened to the games that you played? Maybe it's time to press pause, sit back and close your eyes and let the music take you.
Nice.
Anyway, come back next time for another Bit Wars video, but this time around the PC steps in. Thank you so much for watching and see you next game.